Okay, you already sing? 184. I don't know if anybody knows this. Where could I go? Okay, 184. Anybody know the song? Becky, you know the song Where Could I Go? Here we go. Let's sing. Here we go. Living below in this so sinful world, hardly a comfort can afford. Striving alone to face temptation sore. Where could I go but to the Lord? Where could I go? Where could I go? Seeking a refuge for my soul, needing a friend to help me in the end. Where could I go but to the Lord? Neighbors are kind, I love them everyone. We get along in sweet accord. But when my soul needs manna from above, where could I go but to the Lord? Where could I go? Where could I go? Seeking a refuge for my soul, needing a friend to help me in the end. Where could I go but to the Lord? Life here is grand with friends I love so dear. Comfort I get from God's own word. Yet when I face a chilling hand of death, where could I go but to the Lord? Where could I go? Oh, where could I go? Seeking a refuge for my soul, needing a friend to help me in the end. Where could I go but to the Lord? Thank you. See, I love that song. I've loved that song for 35 years. We tried singing it in the choir one time, and one of our choir members, when I said it, we said we're going to sing this song. One of our choir members says, "I can't sing that song," and they said, "Why?" Because the second verse says, "Neighbors are kind of loving everyone, and I can't get along with my neighbor." They were serious about that. They would have walked out of the church if we sang that song at night. That's like, silly. Okay. All right, let's go to the Lord prayer. Anybody have spoken prayer requests? Okay. No, she's in herself sick. Other people are just exhausted. For Bible school, Rebecca just drove back from Chicago today. Jared's drove back from Chicago today. He's working all night tonight. So pray for his safety. And just pray for your brothers and sisters in Christ. Special needs in the church. All right. Any unspoken requests? You want to pray about my community? Heavenly Father, thank God for you being in your house. Lord, I pray you bless all we say and do. I pray you use us for your glory. Bless our church family. We love you, Lord. We want to bring you glory. We want to rejoice in what you've done for us, and through us, and to us. And I pray you would use us tonight. In Jesus' name we ask. I want to get right into the message. I don't think we're going to be here for a long time tonight. But I want to get right into the message. Turn to Zephaniah. Zephaniah chapter 1. Zephaniah. Zechariah. Zephaniah. Z-E-P-H.
I kind of just want to get into this message because it's something that I think about often, and I see in people's lives, and I kind of wonder about things sometimes. But I wonder who's going to make it through a trial, or what's going to happen at the end of the trial. We got it, Zephaniah chapter 1. We'll read the first 7 verses because there's a lot to this. We're going to read around chapter 3 too, several verses. Zephaniah chapter 1, verse 1. The word of the Lord which came to Zephaniah, the son of Cushai, the son of Gedaliah, the son of Amariah, the son of Hezekiah, in the days of Josiah, the son of Amon, king of Judah. I will utterly consume all things from off the land, saith the Lord. I will consume man and beast. I will consume the fowls of the heaven and the fishes of the sea and the stumbling blocks with the wicked. And I will cut off man from off the land, saith the Lord. I also will stretch out mine hand upon Judah and upon all the inhabitants of Jerusalem. And I will cut off the remnant of Baal from this place, and the name of the Chimerians with their priests, and them that worship the host of heaven upon the housetops, and them that worship and that swear by the Lord, and that swear by Malcolm, and them that are turned back from the Lord, and those that have not sought the Lord, nor inquired for him. Hold thy peace at thy presence. Hold thy peace at the presence of the Lord, for the day of the Lord is at hand. For the Lord hath prepared a sacrifice; he hath bid his guests. I'll read right there. Here's what's happening. God's promised judgment to Israel at this point. They're getting ready to go into captivity. They're going to be carried. Most of the people that are alive that live in the city of Jerusalem and the tribe of Judah are going to be carried into Babylon. It's not a good thing that's going to happen. But the people that are going to be carried away are actually, we went through this a couple weeks ago. A lot of people that are going to be carried away are going to be the remnant that come back, and it's a good thing that God will bless these people with this. But He has promised this judgment. And a lot of times God gives a prophecy or prophecies for a nation or for people, and we look at things, we don't know when something's going to happen. Like the disciples asked Jesus when His return will be, when He's going to set up His kingdom, these things, and He could tell them what's going to happen, but He can't really tell them when. He knows, but He can't really tell them when or how things are going to be. A lot of times when you're driving this vacation season, a lot of people are on the road. And we look at that. We look off in the future. We see a mountain range, and we may think we're looking at mountains that are right up against the next one. But sometimes, as you're driving, you get to the first mountain, and then you got a long ways to drive before you get to the next mountain, which is farther away. That you could see back here. You can see the tops of this one and this one and this one, and from at a distance, they don't look like they look like they're right up against the other. But there's a span. There's a distance between the two. At the end of Zephaniah, God promises people to be rejoicing and to be singing, and He says this is going to happen. This judgment, this captivity is going to happen, and at the end, this is going to happen. That these people are going to come back and be singing, and they're going to be rejoicing. Okay. Why is God going to bring this judgment? Look, chapter 3, verse 1. We'll look at a couple of verses. Chapter 3, verse 1. Woe to her that is filthy and polluted, to the oppressing city. She obeyed not the voice. He's talking about Jerusalem. She received not correction. She trusted not in the Lord. She drew not near to her God. Her princes within her are roaring lions, and her judges are evening wolves, and they gnaw not the bones until the marrow. Her prophets are light and treacherous persons. Her priests have polluted the sanctuary. They have done violence to the law. The just Lord is in the midst thereof. He will not do iniquity. Every morning doth He bring His judgment to light. He faileth not, but the unjust knoweth no shame. Stop reading right there. The unjust knoweth no shame. God says, I'm bringing this judgment on these people. I'm promising this judgment, and I'm going to bring this judgment on Jerusalem, on these people. You can say this for any generation, but the unjust know no shame. They see nothing wrong with what they're doing. This past week, I had an opportunity to witness to somebody. I stood outside the church building, witnessed to somebody for about 20 minutes, and their first response, they brought their child to Bible school, and they were here 2 nights, if I remember correctly. But the first opportunity I had to witness to them, to talk to them one-on-one, or one-on-two. There's 2 of them. The parents are talking to me, and their first response was, "I believe what I believe. I don't believe what you believe." And they're cold-hearted in all the. But God said, no matter what God said, their first response was to harden their heart immediately, harden up, and blah blah blah. And that was their first reaction. Within 20 minutes, they were ready to get saved. Within 20 minutes of talking to them, they were right on the edge. So will you do this right now? I mean, because just quoting scriptures and going through things with them. And their understanding of what we preach was completely wrong. Their understanding of what we preach was a judgment on everybody else and everyone else. And they had no idea. I don't think they'd ever been in a service. I know that for a fact that they'd never sat in a service in this auditorium, ever. Okay? but they thought they knew what we believed. They thought they knew what we preached. Okay. With that in mind, I want to go back over a couple things. Sometimes God says, I'm going to send a judgment, like with Israel, judgment, Judah. I'm going to send this judgment because these people have done this thing. They're going to go through this trial or this purging that's going to take place. And I'm going to allow this to happen. And at the end, those that come forth at the far end of that purging will come out singing. Then in chapter 3, Chapter 3, verse 17, the Lord thy God in the midst of thee is mighty. He will save. He will rejoice with thee with joy. He will rest in his love. He will joy over thee with singing. Verse 3:14 says, sing, O daughter of Zion. Shout, O Israel. Be glad and rejoice with all the heart, O daughter of Jerusalem. But that's like, when you look at that, look at these verses, there's a judgment coming. But then on the other side, there's people singing. It's like looking at those mountain ranges and you can't tell how far away the one is from the next. You don't know when the judgment has come or when the judgment is over, and the people are singing on the other side. You can't, and the prophecies are going to take place, but you don't know which one's going to come first. But you don't know the span between the two. Just like the people that carried away in Babylonian captivity, they were gone for 70 years. If they were 15 years old when they left, they're 85 when they came back. And when they came back, the young people shouted, and the old people wept. So there's a lot of things that happened in that 70-year time. You see people going through things, and you kind of wonder, is this person going through this thing because of a judgment? All right? You see people going through a trial. You see families going through carrying a heavy burden or going through a trial. You think, okay, is this happening to them because, like one born blind, because it's no one's fault? It's for the glory of God. This one person was born, the man that the disciples looked at him and saw the man who was born blind. The disciples asked Jesus, is it his fault or his parents' fault? And Jesus said, neither his fault nor his parents' fault, but for the glory of God. But then you see someone else going through something, and you think, okay, is this a judgment? Because sometimes we're quick to judge, right? We look and say, this person is going through this thing because of what they've done back here. We look at things, when we're going through it, we think it's not. It's God dealing with not dealing with us. We think it's because it's just happened, right? When we're going through it, then it's just we think it's either temptation from the devil, or we say it's just part of life or whatever. But when we see someone else going through it, we think it's obviously a judgment from God that these people are going through this trial. It's obviously a judgment from God because He's allowing this thing to happen in their life. Okay, how do you know the difference? How do you know the difference with us, with you, with us as a church family, or a specific family, or an individual going through it, or a nation going through it? Is it a judgment from God, or is it just something that has happened, a purging that has taken place? Okay, how do you know the difference? Down at the chapter 1, verse 12 says this, and it shall come to pass at that time that I will search Jerusalem with candles and punish the men that are settled on their lees. It means they're really relaxed. Settled on their lees that say in their heart, the Lord will not do good, neither will He do evil. Really? What do you mean? God says He's going to bring the judgment for those who don't care don't think that God's going to do anything either way. The judgment comes. The judgment a lot of times comes for people who are set back, they are so relaxed because it doesn't really matter what you do. There's no law of sowing and reaping. You can do what you want. Okay? And the judgment comes when people are so relaxed that they think everything's okay and they don't know. Okay? Just like the disciples who asked one to call fire down from heaven to consume somebody that didn't join them. Jesus said, you know not man what spirit you're of. We don't know. Okay? But the people are so relaxed, they don't care whether God says yes or no or gets involved in anything. God says, okay, that's the judgment. The people that are corrupt, chapter 3, verse 1. The people that are corrupt in all that they do, the corrupted judgment, in all the nations. I looked at what's going on in our country today with the corruption in government, where people talk about draining the swamp in Washington, D.C. or whatever is going on. In the corruption, they think someone's going to do something, right? What's going to happen? Who knows? But who gets to rejoice? Okay? Who gets to rejoice at the end of, no matter whether it's a personal trial or a family trial or a national trial? Who gets to rejoice at the end? This I like. Turn chapter 3. We'll look at this last couple verses. Chapter 3, verse 18 says this: I will gather them that are sorrowful for the solemn assembly, who are of thee, to whom the reproach of it was a burden. Okay. The people God's going to bring the judgment on are the people that it doesn't really, that they don't care whether God does good or that God does bad or evil things happen or good things happen. They don't think God's going to get involved at all. The people who would sing and rejoice at the end of the trial, or those who carry the burden for everybody else, or those who carry the burden that this isn't right, something's not right, I got to do something. Okay, the ones who cry out to God, and it's a burden on them all the time. There's something God's got to do something. Please do something. Please give us a revival. Do something. Work in this family. We have prayer for families within the church, for specific individual families and trials that people are going through. God, do something. The people who carry the burden are the ones who are going to do the singing at the end. The ones who look back and say, I thank you for what you've done. Whatever the outcome is. Look, the people that went to captivity, a couple of maybe 2-3 weeks ago, we preached on the 2 bowls of figs, and one was rotten, one was good. The ones who went into captivity, you think were the bad ones, but they were actually the good ones. And God says, okay, you carried the burden the whole time. Now you're going to be singing. Okay? And the rejoicing at the end, you think, okay, I can see these mountain peaks. It looks like one's right after another, but we don't know that time span between one to the other. And nobody knows that time span. And so we look at people's lives and say, okay, is this a judgment from God? Or is it just the kid born blind? This morning in Tammy's junior church lesson, she had all the kids back there. And her lesson was on it's called His Hands, this little book that she has. About a little boy who goes to vacation Bible school. He's wearing bibbed overalls, this cute little picture, and he's got his hand in his pocket. And the teacher says, who teacher doesn't know him, says, son, boy, calls him by name, say, take your hand out of your pocket. He doesn't want to do it. He don't want to do it. He don't want to do it. His hand is crippled. It shows a picture of the little boy's hand. It's all like his fingers only come out to about here, and they're gnarled up, and they got cut off, or was born that way, or whatever. I don't know the whole story. Tammy's better at that story than me. It's like, and his hand is that way. And Tammy was using that as an illustration because it's just part of the illustration that every person has something that they carry. Every person has a burden that they carry. And she was given this illustration because one of the kids was hardened in their heart towards whatever was being said, whatever had been said throughout the morning, or the songs that were sung, or anything. This child who seemed that their heart was hardened over everything. And when Tammy talked to that, she said, everybody goes through something. McKenna raised her hand. And Rebecca, Tammy said, McKenna? She said, I was born with 3 holes in my heart. Some of us remember praying for her when she was born with 3 holes in her heart. Okay? And the others. I can't remember the other one. One of here's one Traber's kids said, I was born with this, or something else. Or it said something about a burden. And just the idea of these kids that are 5 years old, or 6 years old, McKenna may be 6 years old, knowing, understanding that there's a purpose for everything, and that they went through this, or they're going through this, then they get it. Okay? We go through trials. We look at people going through trials, and a lot of times say, well, it serves them right. Okay, you ever said that? Okay? You see somebody going through something, you say, that serves them right. we've seen people in our minds or in our heart of hearts, we said the law of sowing and reaping. It's their fault. Okay, my dad was a great dad when we were kids growing up, and I think a great man. I always enjoyed being around him. We had a lot of fun together. But there was a streak in him that said, because he knew how to overcome adversity, or always had overcome adversity. Okay, his dad only had one leg. My dad was crippled for the most part of his life and different things. And you just get up and go. And he had no tolerance for people who wouldn't. That he would easily say, "You made your bed, now lay in it." Okay, or "You wet your bed, now lay in it." Okay, not actually saying that to a baby that wet their bed, but he would say that in that tone of, "Okay, you chose that, now you got it." Okay. You asked for this. Now you got exactly what you asked for. Okay, we understand that. Who gets to rejoice at the end, and who will have the Lord singing over them? The next couple of verses, chapter 3. Who's going to have the Lord singing over them, or we're singing with them? Those who carry that burden, that say, "Do something, do something, do something." Okay, a constant prayer, a constant. If I cause this, if I cause this, show me. If I cause this problem within the family, if I cause this problem, show me. And carry the burden, even if you didn't cause it. If you didn't cause it, you carry the burden. David said, "Why are my enemies against me?" In the Psalms, "Why are my enemies against me?" Even when they had problems, I was a friend to them. Okay. King David said, when he was sick or he had problems, I helped him. But if I cause this, I don't know that if I cause this, that's the people that carry the burden. That's the people who end up singing. Read chapter 3, and we'll read a couple verses. This is what happens after, because at the mountain peaks, this is what happens at the end. Past the judgment side, the judgment is over. Sing, O daughter, chapter 3, verse 14, "Sing, O daughter of Zion, shout, O Israel, be glad and rejoice with all the heart, O daughter of Jerusalem. The Lord hath taken away thy judgments, he hath cast out thine enemy, the King of Israel, even the Lord, is in the midst of thee. Thou shalt not see evil any more. In that day it shall be said unto Jerusalem, Fear thou not, and to Zion, let not thine hands be slack. The Lord thy God in the midst of thee is mighty. He will save, he will rejoice over thee with joy. He will rest in his love. He will rest in his love. He will joy over thee with singing." He will joy. That means God's going to have a joy over thee. You will sing, he's going to sing. Okay? "I will gather them that are sorrowful in solemn assembly, who are of thee, to whom the reproach of it was a burden. Behold, at that time I will undo all that afflict thee, and I will save her that halteth, and gather her that was driven out, and I will gather them, and I'll get them praise and fame in every land where they have been put to shame." And God says, I know about this judgment. He's on this side, I'm promising this judgment on Jerusalem, on tribe of Judah and Israel. But on the other side, I will gather these people together and let them rejoice. I'm going to sing with them. They're going to sing, and God said, I'm going to sing with you. Judgment's passed. Like the correction of a child. When your children or grandchildren are little, and you correct them, but then you love on them afterwards, right? And then, "Well, but John, I just beat them. It's a great cardiovascular exercise. I just beat them just for the fun of beating them." Nah, you love on them afterwards. You say, "Okay, you had the punishment for what you did. It wasn't really punishment; it's a corrective measure more than a punishment to get you to do the right thing. Now you're doing the right thing, or the judgment is passed. The time out is over. The whooping is gone. Then we love on you a little bit." God says, "Okay, let me love you on you a little bit." It's a great thing to get to the other side. Well, when's it come? In their family carrying that burden. When's it come? When it's over. How do you know it's over? He said it's over. Let's pray. Thank you, Lord, for loving us. Thank you for the truth you've given us in your word. I pray that you help us be the Christians we ought to be. Please use our church family for your glory. Help us as we go through trials together, as we see others going through trials, that we'll carry the burden. We caused it, did it, we don't know whatever's going on. That we will bear the burdens of others. Use us, please, for your glory. Pray for the families that were touched this week through Bible school. the families that came to visit, the families that stepped inside the door or stood in the parking lot or sent their kids. I pray that you'll help us to reach these families. Some are going through great trials. Some have terrible burdens. I pray for the two little girls that are living in poverty. We've been to their house. I pray. I don't know what the judgment is, where it came from, who did what. I pray that you'll work in those kids' lives, work in the parents' lives. Use us, please, for your glory. Use our church family so we can sing at the end of the trial. And you can sing with us at the end of the trial. Thank you for loving us. In Jesus' name we ask. Amen. Let's stand and sing. Sing one verse, page 194. Light Savior, like a shepherd, lead us. Just one verse. Savior, like a shepherd, lead us, much we need thy tender care. In thy pleasant pasture feed us, for our use thy folds prepare. Blessed Jesus, thou hast bought us, thine we are. Blessed Jesus, thou hast bought us, thine we are. Thank you very much. Marlon, will you dismiss us?
You amaze me. We tried to add up the